The night had barely lifted from Manhattan when Marissa Cole realized her entire life had cracked open. 5 months pregnant, one hand pressed against the soft rise of her belly, she stared at the photo glowing on her phone screen. Her husband, Gavin, stepping out of the plaza at 2 a.m., his tie loose, his arm wrapped around Sabrina Holt, the woman she'd been foolish enough to believe was just a colleague. The city lights behind them glittered like they were mocking her. For a long moment, Marissa couldn't breathe. Her chest tightened the way it did during the episodes her doctor warned about. Stress wasn't safe for the baby yet tonight. Stress wrapped around her like barbed wire. She sat on the edge of their Park Avenue penthouse sofa, trembling, the silence so heavy it felt like another betrayal. Gavin hadn't even bothered to come home. Her wedding ring felt colder than usual. She traced the band, remembering the promises he had made, the future they had planned. But the truth sat in front of her now, undeniable, photographed and cruel. Sometimes the universe doesn't whisper the truth. It slams it into your chest and dares you to stand back up. Marissa rose slowly, fighting the dizziness. Somewhere deep inside, beneath the heartbreak and fear, something shifted. She wasn't sure if it was strength or desperation, only that it pushed her to reach for her coat, her bag, her medical file, and her courage. The elevator ride down felt endless. Her heart pounded, her baby kicked. When the lobby doors slid open, a black SUV idled at the curb. The driver stepped out, holding the door. "Miss Cole," he said quietly, "Mr. Ward sent me. We need to go now." Marissa froze, stunned. Declan Ward. She hadn't heard that name in years. And then the driver leaned closer and added, "Your husband is on his way back. He cannot find you here." Marissa's pulse stopped. She stepped outside, unaware that this single choice would set off a chain of events no one could predict. Marissa Cole had never imagined her story would begin with running. She wasn't reckless, nor dramatic by nature. She was steady, rational, the kind of woman who triple-checked every financial forecast before she ever let a client see it. But pregnancy changes how a woman feels the world. Everything becomes louder, sharper, more fragile. She had grown up in Portland, Oregon, in a modest 2-bedroom home where her mother worked double shifts as a nurse and still found the strength to braid her hair before school. Her childhood wasn't wealthy, but it was warm, guided by a woman who taught her that dignity mattered more than comfort. Marissa had carried that lesson into adulthood, becoming the quiet force behind several major risk management victories for New York's biggest firms. Her work didn't make headlines, but it saved companies millions. And then came Gavin, handsome, polished, ambitious, in a way that made her feel both chosen and cherished. Or so she thought. Now, sitting in the back of the SUV, while the city slid past her window, she saw her reflection in the glass. Tired eyes, trembling lips, and a hand curled protectively around her belly. She wasn't just leaving a cheating husband. She was leaving the version of herself that believed love could fix a man who didn't want to be fixed. The driver said nothing, but handed her a bottle of water. Her fingers shook as she accepted it. "Where are we going?" she managed. "To the jet hangar, Mr. God." Ward insisted, he replied. Declan Ward. Even hearing his name stirred something complicated. 4 years ago, before her marriage, they had worked on a joint corporate audit. Declan had looked at her the way a man looks when he recognizes strength in someone who hasn't discovered it yet. She remembered thinking his eyes were too perceptive, like he could see her fears before she spoke them, but he had kept his distance, respecting the engagement ring she wore back then. Now he was sending a car for her. At dawn, without explanation, Marissa rested her head back, a wave of nausea rising, the kind her doctor warned about. Stress wasn't safe. She needed calm, and yet the storm inside her kept building. It struck her then. Sometimes life forces you to move before you feel ready, because staying would destroy you faster. The SUV stopped at a red light. Marissa glanced down at her phone, expecting silence. But instead, the screen lit up. Gavin was calling, over and over. And then a message appeared, one that drained the warmth from her body. "Where are you? Don't make me come find you." Marissa's breath hitched. The driver turned to her and said, "Ma'am, we're being followed." The SUV turned off the main road and slipped through the security gates of Teterboro Airport, the quiet haven of private jets and silent money. For a moment, Marissa felt completely out of place. She had been inside this airport only once in her life years ago, accompanying her firm during a financial compliance review for elite clients. She remembered how surreal it felt then, standing beneath the glow of luxury she never believed she would touch. And now, here she was again, not as an analyst, but as a woman running for safety. The early morning light spilled over the runway, washing everything in a pale gold. A sleek Gulfstream jet waited near Hangar 4, the kind of aircraft only billionaires or power brokers used. The sight of it made her throat tighten. Why would Declan Ward send something like this? For her. No explanation made sense, and yet the situation felt strangely intentional, as if someone had been watching over her long before she realized she needed help. The SUV rolled to a stop beside the plane. Her driver stepped out quickly, scanning the surroundings. "Ma'am, keep your head down. Your husband's car is still behind us." Her heartbeat raced. She pressed a hand over her belly, whispering a silent promise to protect the child inside her. The wind carried the faint scent of jet fuel, cold metal, and something else, freedom, maybe, the kind she had forgotten existed. Inside the hangar, 2 flight crew members waited with calm professionalism. One offered his arm to support her, the other retrieved her small bag, treating it with more care than Gavin ever did her. "Miss Cole, Mr. Ward will meet you at your destination," the captain said gently. "You're safe now." Safe. The word hit her harder than any insult Gavin had ever thrown. It dawned on her that safety isn't just the absence of danger, it's the presence of someone who refuses to let you fall. But even as the warmth of that thought settled, reality returned in a sharp wave. She still didn't know why Declan was doing this. What debt did he believe he owed her? What did he know that she didn't? Her phone buzzed again. Another message. This one from an unknown number. "You shouldn't trust him. He's using you too." Marissa froze, her hand tightening around the railing of the stairs leading into the jet. For the first time since dawn, doubt stabbed her. Who sent that message? How did they know where she was? And what exactly was Declan Ward planning? Behind her, tires screeched. Gavin's car had just turned into the hangar. Gavin Cole had always believed the world bent for him. Success had come early, a senior director position at 30, a Park Avenue penthouse, tailored suits, and a reputation sharp enough to make weaker men step aside. He wore arrogance like a fitted coat, confident that everything he touched would yield to his ambition. That confidence was what made last night feel so natural to him. Sabrina Holt had laughed too loudly, touched his arm too often, and whispered promises he wanted to believe. At the plaza, wrapped in champagne light and careless luxury, Gavin convinced himself he deserved a night to feel free. Sabrina fed that notion with every calculated smile. She knew exactly how to stroke a man's ego until he mistook manipulation for affection. But as he sped towards Teterboro Airport now, his heart hammered for a different reason entirely: panic. He hadn't expected Marissa to see the photos. He hadn't expected her to leave. Women like her didn't leave. They forgave. They stayed quiet. They clung to the idea of family even when the foundation cracked. His mother had stayed. His sister stayed. Every woman he dated stayed until he discarded them. Marissa wasn't supposed to be different. Sabrina sat beside him in the passenger seat, scrolling through her phone. "She probably just needed space," she said with an airy shrug. "Pregnant women get dramatic." He nearly slammed on the brakes. "She's not dramatic," he snapped. Sabrina raised a brow, amused. "Relax, Gavin. If she's going to Teterboro, she's probably just running to a friend. You can spin this later." But her tone changed when she saw the jet on the tarmac. Sleek, expensive, untouchable. "That's a Gulfstream," she whispered. "You don't know anyone who owns that." Gavin swallowed hard. He knew exactly who did. Declan Ward, a man he once tried to humiliate during a merger negotiation. A man who didn't forget enemies. Suddenly, fear burned through him. It wasn't fear of losing Marissa's affection. He'd taken that for granted years ago. It was the fear of losing control, the one thing he valued most. As he jumped out of the car, Sabrina grabbed his wrist. "Gavin, what if this is intentional? What if Ward is using her to get to you?" He shook her off. Marissa wouldn't let that happen. But as he ran toward the hangar, something cold settled in his stomach. He didn't truly know what Marissa would do anymore. And then he noticed a man in a dark coat standing near the jet, watching him as if he'd been waiting. Marissa's foot touched the first step of the jet staircase, when the hangar filled with the echo of screeching tires. The sound jolted through her body, sharp as a blade. She turned, heart pounding against her ribs, and saw Gavin sprinting toward her, wild-eyed, hair disheveled, like a man watching his world crumble in real time. "Marissa, don't you dare get on that plane," he shouted. His voice hit her like a slap. Not out of love, out of ownership. 2 airport security officers stepped in front of him, but he shoved one aside. His desperation was loud, messy, theatrical, the kind that made people stare. And today, there were plenty of eyes watching ground crew, hangar staff. Sabrina standing at the car door with her arms crossed, already rehearsing her excuse to the world. Marissa felt her throat tighten. The baby kicked again, a reminder that this wasn't just her crisis. She steadied her breathing and kept her hand on the stair rail. "Marissa, please," Gavin begged now, his tone shifting. "We can fix this. You're overreacting. Come home and we'll talk." The familiar gaslighting made her dizzy. Overreacting, dramatic, sensitive. Words he used every time he hurt her and didn't want the blame. "I'm not going home," she said quietly. Gavin's expression snapped. "You're pregnant, Marissa. You need stability. You can't just run away." Her voice trembled, but the truth held steady. "Stability doesn't come from a man who lies to me." Sabrina scoffed loudly. "Oh, please, you think anyone believes you're the victim? Pregnant or not, you're being pathetic." The cruelty in her tone sliced through the air. Something inside Marissa, something she had buried under fear, exhaustion, and loyalty finally rose. She turned fully to face them, her voice calm, almost too calm. "You two deserve each other, and I deserve peace." Gavin stepped closer, fury resurfacing. "If you get on that plane, Marissa, everything changes. I swear to God." She inhaled deeply, and for the first time, she understood a simple truth. The moment you stop fearing someone, they lose all power over you. She lifted her chin. "Good. Let everything change." Behind her, the captain gave a subtle nod time to board. The engines hummed louder, filling the hangar with a low, rising thunder. Gavin lunged forward again, shouting her name. But before security restrained him, another voice cut through the chaos. Deep, controlled, commanding. "Mr. Cole," the man in the dark coat said, stepping forward, "you're going to want to stop right there." Marissa froze, because the man was Declan Ward, and he was looking directly at her. For a moment, the world tilted under Marissa's feet. Declan Ward, the last man she expected to see here, was suddenly standing between her and the chaos she had tried so hard to escape. His presence alone shifted the atmosphere. Calm, controlled, unshakable, a direct contrast to Gavin's spiraling rage. "Miss Cole," Declan said gently, "you're safe. Keep walking." His voice washed over her like warm steadiness, but her body didn't match the calm he offered. Her breathing turned shallow. A sharp ache stabbed beneath her ribs. The doctor had warned her that emotional overload could trigger stress responses, dangerous for her heart and the baby. Not now. Not here. Gavin strained against the security officers. "Ward, you manipulative bastard," he shouted. "She's my wife. You can't take her." Declan didn't flinch. "Your wife made a decision. Respect it." But Gavin wasn't listening. He never listened. Marissa's vision blurred. The lights above her flickered into a haze. She gripped the railing of the jet stairs, knuckles white. The baby kicked again, panicked. Or maybe she imagined that. Her chest tightened further, squeezing breath from her like invisible hands. "Marissa?" Declan's tone sharpened. He stepped closer, reading the change in her face instantly. "You're not okay. Sit down now." The ground crew hurried to her side. Someone brought a chair. Someone else fetched water. But the noise, the shouting, the tension, it all spun too fast. Gavin cursed and fought harder. "Don't touch her. Marissa, I swear, if you don't get off that plane." The sound of his voice pushed tears to her eyes. Not sadness, not even fear. Exhaustion. Bone-deep, soul-heavy exhaustion. "I can't breathe," she whispered. Declan knelt in front of her, steady hands guiding hers to focus on slower breaths. "Look at me. In through your nose, out through your mouth. You're going to be all right. I've got you." His certainty anchored her for a second. She managed a single, deeper inhale. But the moment she steadied, Sabrina's voice sliced through the air. "Oh my God," she scoffed loudly. "Is she seriously going to milk a panic attack right now? Gavin, this is pathetic. She's pathetic." The words cracked something open inside Marissa. Shame, anger, heartbreak, all tangled. Airport staff snapped their attention to Sabrina. Even security paused. Declan slowly stood and turned toward her, expression darkening. "Say one more word," he warned softly, "and I promise you'll regret it." Sabrina smirked, but a flicker of fear crossed her face. Marissa tried to rise, but her legs trembled. I need to get out of here." Declan nodded once, decisive. "Then we move now." He signaled the crew. The jet door opened wider. The engines roared to life. And behind them, Gavin broke free of security, running straight toward her. Gavin's footsteps slammed against the concrete floor as he sprinted toward her. The sound echoed in the hangar like a warning bell. Marissa staggered to her feet, clutching the railing, her breath still uneven. Declan moved instinctively, placing himself between her and the man who once vowed to love her. "Move," Gavin snarled. "She's coming with me." "No," Declan said calmly. "She isn't." The tension snapped like a wire. Gavin lunged, but two security officers grabbed him mid-stride. He fought them like a cornered animal, veins standing out on his neck. "You don't understand," he yelled. "She can't leave. Not now." The desperation in his voice was strange, not the sound of a man afraid of losing his wife, but of losing something else entirely. Declan narrowed his eyes. "What exactly are you afraid of losing, Gavin?" Gavin froze. Too long, too obvious. And that was when Marissa felt it, the shift. The dread curling low in her stomach. The look in Gavin's eyes wasn't heartbreak. It was fear. The wrong kind. "What did you do?" she whispered. Gavin's expression crumbled. "Marissa, I just need to talk to you. Alone, please." Declan's tone dropped to steel. "Say it, now." Gavin swallowed hard, his bravado slipping. "There were investments, risky ones, but they would have paid off, I swear. I had to use your signature." Marissa's pulse stopped. "My signature?" Her voice barely formed the words. Gavin looked away. "You weren't supposed to find out unless everything collapsed." "It wasn't going to collapse." Declan stepped forward, jaw clenching. "He forged your authorization." Gavin shouted. "It wasn't forging, she would have agreed if I'd told her." The officers tightened their hold as he jerked violently. Marissa felt the world sway. "Gavin, what did you put my name on?" He hesitated again. "Another mistake." Declan answered for him with cold, brutal clarity. "A $1.2 million personal guarantee. If his investments fail, Marissa owes the debt, not him." Marissa's knees buckled. The baby fluttered anxiously under her palm, mirroring her panic. In that moment, she understood the harsh truth. Betrayal doesn't always break your heart. Sometimes, it breaks your future. Her vision blurred with fresh tears. "How could you do that to me? To our child?" Gavin erupted into pleading. "I did it for us, for the life we deserve. You can't leave, or everything falls apart." Declan signaled the crew urgently. "Get her on the plane, now." Marissa took a step toward the jet, shaken, furious, terrified. And before she could take the second step, Sabrina's voice rang out, slicing through the air. "Actually, that's not the only thing he forged." Marissa turned slowly. Sabrina was smirking, holding a folder in her hand. For hours after takeoff, Marissa sat curled in the leather seat of the private jet, the hum of the engines steady beneath her. She wasn't crying anymore. The tears had burned out somewhere over the New Jersey skyline. What remained was a hollow ache, and underneath it, something quietly rebuilding itself. Declan sat across from her, giving her space but never removing his attention completely. He had always been like that, present, without suffocating. Strong, without demanding. A man who observed before he spoke. "You're safe now," he finally said. Safe. The word felt too soft for the storm she'd escaped, yet somehow too powerful for the woman she was becoming. She touched her belly gently, whispering a silent promise. "I won't let him take anything else from us." Declan leaned forward. "I have something you need to see." He placed a sleek black folder on the table between them. Not just documents, evidence. Proof of Gavin's forged signatures, falsified investment records, and worst of all, a transfer attempt of Marissa's personal savings into a shell company. Her breath caught. "He tried to drain my accounts?" "He would have succeeded by the end of the week," Declan said quietly. "Your leaving today saved you from losing everything." She closed her eyes, letting the reality settle in. I should have seen it. You trusted him, Declan replied. That's not a weakness. That's humanity. His voice softened. But learning when to stop trusting someone? That's strength. A warmth spread in her chest, not romantic, not yet, but something deeply human. Gratitude, stability, a sense of being seen rather than used. The jet began its descent toward a private airstrip near Boston. Declan stood and opened an overhead compartment, pulling out a box. "This is for you," he said. Inside was a tailored maternity coat, soft gray wool, elegant and warm, something she would never have bought for herself, something thoughtful. "I figured you didn't have time to pack," he added simply. For the first time in days, her lips curved, small, fragile, but real. "Thank you, Declan." He paused, meeting her eyes with steady sincerity. "I'm not here to rescue you, Marissa. I'm here to stand beside you while you rescue yourself." The words struck deeper than he realized. The plane touched down gently, but her path forward was no longer gentle at all. It was sharp, clear, unstoppable. Declan offered his hand to help her stand. She took it, but before she could step toward the jet door, the flight attendant approached with a pale face. "Miss Cole, there's a crowd waiting outside. Reporters. Someone leaked your location." Marissa stiffened. Then the attendant added quietly, "And your husband just landed too. He's here." The moment Marissa stepped out of the plane, the cold Boston air slapped her cheeks, waking every nerve in her body. Camera flashes erupted instantly. Reporters lunged forward, microphones outstretched, voices colliding in a frenzy. "Mrs. Cole, is it true your husband cheated? Are you filing charges? Is the baby safe?" Her heart pounded, but she kept her chin lifted. Declan stepped beside her, positioning himself like a shield, not touching her, but close enough that the world understood she wasn't alone. Beside them, airport security formed a protective barrier. Then the crowd shifted. Gavin arrived. He shoved past reporters, ignoring the shouted questions, looking frantic and disheveled in a way Marissa had never witnessed, like a man who had lost the script of his own life. "Marissa," he called, breathless. "Please, we need to talk." She froze. Not because of fear, but because of the surreal contrast. Gavin, the polished executive who always cared about image, now unraveling in front of flashing cameras. Reporters murmured excitedly, sensing a spectacle worth broadcasting. Gavin stepped toward her, but Declan blocked his path with a quiet firmness that made the crowd fall silent. "You come any closer," Declan said evenly, "and this becomes a legal issue." Gavin bristled. "Stay out of my marriage." "This stopped being a marriage when you forged her life into debt," Declan replied. Gasps rippled through the reporters. Microphones shot forward. "Mr. Cole, did you commit financial fraud? Were you using your wife's identity to cover losses? Is that why she left you?" Gavin's face drained of color. "Marissa, tell them it's not true. You know I did everything for us." She felt her stomach twist. Her hand touched her belly instinctively, grounding herself. "You did everything for yourself," she said quietly. Another wave of camera flashes exploded. Sabrina appeared then, dressed in a smug smile and a designer coat meant to convey importance. "This is ridiculous," she announced loudly. "Marissa's just bitter because Gavin chose me. Wrong move." Every camera swung toward her. Declan's jaw tightened, but it was Marissa who spoke first, her voice steady. "No, Sabrina, I'm leaving because he committed crimes. And because you helped hide them." Reporters erupted. Questions fired so quickly, the air vibrated. Sabrina's smirk shattered. Gavin lunged forward, panic breaking through his arrogance. "Stop talking. Marissa, you're ruining everything." She looked at him, truly looked, and saw a man terrified not of losing her, but of exposure. Sometimes, the truth doesn't set you free. It strips you bare in front of everyone you ever tried to impress. Marissa inhaled deeply, gathering her courage. "I'm done letting you use me." But the moment the words left her mouth, a police cruiser turned the corner of the airstrip, and the officer stepping out was holding a warrant. "I'm looking for Gavin Cole." For a moment, the world seemed to freeze around Marissa. Reporters stopped shouting. Even the cold Boston wind felt suspended as the officer held up the warrant with Gavin's name printed in bold, merciless letters. Gavin's face drained of color. "Wait, this has to be a mistake." "It isn't," the officer replied. "You're under investigation for identity fraud, falsified financial documents, and illegal fund transfers. Clicking cuffs echoed through the air like a gavel striking a verdict. Marissa swayed, gripping the railing beside her. She had imagined confronting Gavin, imagined telling him she was done, imagined walking away. But she had not imagined this, watching the man who once promised her, forever being read his rights in front of the world. Sabrina screamed, "You can't arrest him. He's being set up." But no one listened. Reporters swarmed around the officers, microphones thrust forward. Cameras captured every second of Gavin's unraveling the fall of a man who believed himself untouchable. Marissa's breath grew shallow again, her vision blurred at the edges. Declan noticed instantly, stepping to her side. "Hey, look at me." Slow breaths. "Remember?" She tried, she truly did, but the adrenaline, fear, humiliation, and heartbreak pulsed through her at once. Her chest tightened, her pulse raced, and her knees buckled. Declan caught her before she could hit the ground. The world became muffled, a distant roar of voices, sirens, and chaos. Her ears rang, she tasted iron. Her hand flew to her belly as panic surged. "Is she okay?" someone shouted. "She's pregnant," a reporter gasped. "Call paramedics," another yelled. Declan lifted her carefully, cradling her as if she weighed nothing. "Marissa, stay with me. You're safe. I've got you." Her breaths turned sharp, uneven. "The baby," she whispered. "You're both going to be fine," he said. But the tightness in his jaw betrayed how worried he truly was. Gavin, handcuffed and being pushed into the cruiser, twisted around at the sound of her voice. For a fleeting second, real fear, not for his reputation, but for her, crossed his face. "Marissa, don't let them take me away. We can fix this. I need you." His words cut through her like a blade. Because even then, even as police shut the car door on him, he believed her purpose was to save him. Declan turned sharply. "She doesn't owe you salvation, Gavin. Not anymore." The paramedics rushed toward them, pushing through the reporters. One knelt beside Declan, checking Marissa's pulse. "Heart rate's too high. We need to move her now." As they placed her on the stretcher, a paramedic frowned at the monitor. "Her condition's unstable. Get ready, we may need emergency intervention." The ambulance siren wailed through the crisp Boston air as Marissa lay on the stretcher, eyes half closed, fighting the overwhelming dizziness pressing against her skull. Declan sat beside her, gripping the metal rail with one hand, refusing to look away from her even for a second. "You're okay," he murmured. "Just breathe. I'm right here." She tried to steady herself, but her heart rate monitor beeped erratically. Fear clawed up her spine. She wasn't afraid of dying, she was afraid of leaving her child alone in a world where Gavin could still claim any part of their life. At the hospital entrance, dozens of reporters gathered behind barriers. Security cleared a path, but flashes still burst like lightning as medics rushed her inside. Inside the emergency room, Declan spoke to the doctors with the voice of a man used to being obeyed. Calm, firm, focused. Monitor her cardiac response. She has a known arrhythmia triggered by stress. The doctor nodded. We'll stabilize her. She needs rest and protection from further emotional shock. But that safety shattered when a lawyer arrived at the nurse's station, panting, clutching a folder. He wasn't here for Marissa. He was here for Declan. "Mr. Ward," the lawyer said anxiously, "it's time." Declan's eyes darkened. Already? Her husband's arrest triggered it. Marissa frowned weakly. Triggered what? Declan hesitated, then pulled a chair close to her bed. His voice softened, almost apologetic. "Marissa, 4 years ago, when you helped me with that audit, you saved my company from a massive securities breach. You never took credit. You just did the work quietly and moved on." She blinked, confused. "It was my job. It was more than that," he said. "What you uncovered protected my shareholders and exposed a criminal network tied to Gavin's firm. But before we could take action, someone sabotaged the case. Someone fed confidential information to the enemy." Her breath caught. "You think Gavin did it?" "I know he did," Declan replied. "And the moment he was arrested today, the sealed file reopened. Everything he buried is coming to light." She stared at him, heart thudding. "Why are you telling me this now?" He exhaled, the weight of years in his voice. "Because the truth is, I've been waiting for this moment to finally protect you the way I should have protected you then." Marissa's lips parted, but before she could speak, a nurse rushed in, eyes wide. "Mr. Ward, there's someone trying to force his way into the secure wing." Declan stood instantly. "Who?" The nurse swallowed hard. "A woman named Sabrina Holt. She insists she has something that will destroy both of you." Sabrina Holt stormed into the secure hospital wing with the fury of someone who finally realized she wasn't the winner of a love triangle, but a pawn in a much larger game. Security tried to slow her down, but she waved a manila folder like a weapon. "I need to speak to Marissa Cole right now," she demanded. "And if you don't let me in, I swear I'll make sure every reporter within 10 blocks knows this hospital is hiding the truth." Her voice bounced through the halls, sharp and frantic. Declan stepped out of Marissa's room with the calm of a man who'd faced people far more dangerous than Sabrina Holt. "You're not going anywhere near her," he said quietly. Sabrina's lip curled. "Oh, please. You think she's innocent? You think she didn't know the mess Gavin was in? You think she didn't benefit from it?" Declan didn't blink. "You're lying." "I have proof," she snapped, shaking the folder. "Documents with her name. Signatures. Transfers." Inside the room, Marissa heard every word. Her pulse quickened. Her palms sweat. Not again. Not another betrayal. Not another forged signature tying her to crimes she didn't commit. Her breath trembled as fear clawed up her spine. What if Gavin dragged her further down even from behind bars? Declan stepped closer to Sabrina, voice lowering to a terrifying softness. "You forged those documents, didn't you?" "Gavin's too reckless to think this far." Sabrina's facade cracked for a split second, enough for him to see the truth. "You don't get it," she hissed. "I'm not doing this for him. I'm doing this for me. If he goes down alone, everything I did for him goes down with him. But if she goes down too, then it's not my fault. It's hers." Inside the room, the baby kicked sharply. Marissa closed her eyes. She realized then that some people don't just hurt you, they try to rewrite your suffering to protect themselves. And the only way to survive them is to stop playing by their rules. Declan opened the folder. He didn't even need to read far. "Sabrina," he said, disgust threading his tone, "these signatures aren't even close to hers. This is sloppy." Sabrina's face flushed with panic. I can fix them. I didn't mean..." "You just confessed," Declan said. Her eyes widened. No, I didn't." But it was too late. 2 hospital security officers approached her. One lifted a radio, already reporting the incident. "You're detaining me?" she shrieked. "For what?" Declan answered coldly. "For obstruction, falsifying evidence, and attempting to frame a pregnant woman." Sabrina lunged toward him, but the officers restrained her. "Marissa," she screamed down the hall. "You think you're safe? You think he's saving you? You have no idea who Declan Ward really is." Declan stiffened. Marissa heard it, and her heart dropped. Because Sabrina wasn't lying this time, she was smiling. The hospital room dimmed into a muted stillness after security dragged Sabrina away, her screams echoing faintly down the hall like a warning. Marissa lay against her pillow, breath shallow, heart rate slowly evening out. But the damage was done not physically, but emotionally. Sabrina's final words lodged themselves like thorns. "You have no idea who Declan Ward really is." Declan entered the room a moment later, closing the door quietly behind him. He didn't speak immediately, he just watched her. Eyes filled with concern, something deeper flickering beneath them. Marissa looked away, staring at the IV tube taped to her arm. "Is any of that true?" she whispered. He drew a slow breath. "Which part? That you're not who I think you are." He moved closer, pulling a chair next to her bed. "Marissa, I've never lied to you. But you haven't told me everything," she said softly. It wasn't an accusation, it was a realization, a tired truth spoken by someone who had been betrayed enough times to sense when another storm was forming. Declan rested his hands together. "You're right, I haven't. Not because I wanted to deceive you, but because the truth was dangerous until today." Marissa swallowed. "Dangerous for who?" "For you," he answered. "And for me." Her pulse began climbing again. He noticed and lowered his voice. "Breathe first. Then listen." She inhaled shakily. 4 years ago, Declan began. "When you saved my company, you didn't just uncover a breach. You uncovered a criminal funnel tied to an international laundering network. Gavin was the one who leaked our findings and sabotaged the audit." The room tilted slightly, but she steadied herself. "He compromised everything. Declan continued. And when the investigation narrowed toward him, he diverted suspicion by planting rumors that someone inside my company was dirty. That someone was me. Marissa's voice cracked. He framed you? Yes, and it worked. The federal inquiry froze my assets, halted acquisitions, and nearly destroyed my reputation. It took years to undo the damage. Her eyes stung. Why didn't you ever say anything? Because you were married to him, Declan said gently. And I refused to make you collateral damage. Marissa pressed a trembling hand to her forehead. She realized that while Gavin used power to control her, Declan used power to protect her quietly, without asking for anything in return. And sometimes, the difference between love and manipulation is the silence between actions. Declan, she whispered, overwhelmed. I don't know what to feel. You don't have to feel anything yet, he said softly. You just have to heal. A knock suddenly rattled the door. A nurse peeked inside, face pale. Miss Cole, you need to see this. She turned on the wall-mounted TV. Every news station was showing the same footage. Gavin Cole, in handcuffs, shouting her name as he was dragged into a federal transport van. And beside him was Sabrina, being arrested too. The news footage looped over and over on the hospital TV. Gavin being shoved into a federal transport van, Sabrina screaming as agents read her charges. Each replay felt like the universe insisting that Marissa finally absorb what had happened. She wasn't the one whose life was collapsing. They were. For the first time in months, she exhaled without her chest tightening. The shadow that had hung over her marriage, over her pregnancy, over her future, was dissolving in front of the entire nation. Declan muted the volume, giving her space. His presence held steady, a quiet anchor in the storm. You're free from him now, he said. She shook her head slowly. Not yet. He still tied my name to everything he touched. Not for long. He placed a stack of documents at the edge of her bed. Financial reports, email chains, timestamps, forged signatures. A map of Gavin's crimes, all leading back to him and Sabrina, not her. Declan had investigators working through the night. He had mobilized an entire legal team the moment Marissa stepped onto his jet. Marissa, Declan said gently, you will not lose anything. Not your savings, not your credibility, not your child's security. She swallowed hard. Why are you doing all of this? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pulled a chair closer, lowering himself with the carefulness of a man choosing his words. Because I know what it's like to lose everything to someone else's greed. Because I know what it's like to be blamed for someone else's lies. And because, he paused, eyes softening, you didn't deserve any of this. Something inside her cracked, not a wound this time, but the beginning of healing. She looked down at her hands, at the hospital bracelet tight around her wrist. She realized strength wasn't born from surviving pain alone. It was born from finally choosing who stood beside her when the pain ended. A nurse entered with a tablet. Miss Cole, you need to be aware of this. She handed the device to Marissa. On the screen was a headline. Cole investment scandal widens. Federal agents raid property, uncover secret accounts. Below it were photos of FBI agents carrying boxes out of Gavin's office. Another headline followed. Sabrina Holt faces additional charges for document forgery and fraud. Marissa's breath steadied. The world finally saw the truth. And the truth didn't just vindicate her, it protected her child's future. But then, the nurse hesitated. There's one more thing. She clicked a final video. A reporter stood outside the courthouse. Sources confirm that Gavin Cole is claiming his wife was a willing participant in the scheme unless she cooperates against a third party. Marissa froze. Third party? She whispered. The reporter continued. He alleges she was working with a man named Declan Ward. Marissa felt the ground tilt again, as Declan slowly lifted his eyes to meet hers. The reporter's voice echoed through the hospital room like a verdict she hadn't seen coming. Gavin Cole alleges that his wife, Marissa Cole, acted knowingly and was aided by businessman Declan Ward. The tablet slipped slightly in her trembling hands. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. Not because she feared the accusation, but because it came from the man who had shattered her life, and now he was trying to take down the one person holding her together. Declan stood still, jaw tight, expression unreadable. Marissa, he said softly, you know this is a lie. She nodded, but the room spun anyway. Months of betrayal had rewired her instincts. Trust felt like a language she no longer spoke fluently. Her heart knew he wasn't like Gavin, but her mind had learned the cost of believing the wrong man. "Why would he say this?" she whispered. "Because he's desperate," Declan replied. "If he can shift blame onto me or onto you, he has a bargaining chip." Her pulse raced. "But if the media believes him—" "They won't," he said firmly. "My legal team has already issued a statement, and yours will too. I'll make sure of it." But fear dug deeper. What if they come after me? What if they think I'm involved? What if— Declan stepped closer, voice low and steady. "Marissa, look at me." She lifted her eyes reluctantly. He didn't look angry. He didn't look offended. He looked afraid she might break. "You survived a man who tried to control every part of your life," he told her. "Never let fear from the past rewrite the truth of who you are now." Her throat tightened. His words should have soothed her, yet the weight of everything pressed on her chest again. The betrayal, the forged documents, the ruined trust. Her hands shook. "I don't know who to trust anymore," she admitted, voice cracking. A flicker of pain crossed his expression, but he didn't step back. "Then trust yourself. I'll earn whatever trust comes after." Before she could answer, the door burst open. Marissa gasped as 3 federal investigators entered the room, badges gleaming under the bright hospital lights. "Miss Cole?" the lead agent asked. "We need to speak with you. Urgently." Declan stepped forward. "Anything you need to say to her, you say with counsel present." The agent shook his head. "This isn't about the charges anymore." He handed Marissa a sealed envelope. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside was a single page, a subpoena. But the last line made her blood run cold. "You are required to testify against Declan Ward." She looked up at him, horrified. I don't understand." Declan exhaled sharply, a shadow crossing his face. "Because, Marissa, there's something I haven't told you yet." For a long, silent moment, the subpoena trembled in Marissa's hand. The letters blurred as fear climbed her throat, squeezing until she could barely breathe. Testify against Declan Ward. The man who saved her, the man who protected her, the man who, for reasons she still didn't fully understand, had risked everything to get her out. "Declan," she whispered, desperate. "What does this mean? Why would they drag you into this?" Declan closed the door softly behind the agents, then turned back to her, with the look of someone who'd been cornered before and survived it but not without scars. "There's something you need to know," he said quietly. "Something I should have told you long before today." Her pulse pounded in her ears. "Tell me now." He dragged a chair closer but didn't sit, as if sitting would anchor him when he needed to stay on guard. "When the federal investigation into my company stalled 4 years ago," he began, "I didn't step away from fighting it. I stepped deeper into it." She blinked, confused. "I became a cooperating strategist," he explained. "Not an informant, but someone who helped federal agencies track laundering networks inside the finance world. Gavin's firm was one of the companies they flagged." Her breath hitched. "Are you telling me you've been working with investigators this entire time?" "Yes. But why didn't you tell me?" His voice softened, full of regret. "Because anyone close to me would automatically be monitored, questioned, or used as leverage. I couldn't put you through that." Something inside her twisted, part admiration, part fear. "And now?" she whispered. "Now," he said, exhaling slowly, "Gavin dragged my name into the open investigation. That triggered the disclosure of my involvement. The subpoena isn't because I'm guilty, it's because the government wants you to confirm I didn't coerce you in any way." Marissa closed her eyes. Her thoughts spiraled. Her safety, her child, her future, all tied to a man whose world was far more dangerous than she ever imagined. "Why am I only finding out now?" she said, voice trembling. Declan moved closer, his tone raw. "Because I didn't expect to care this much, Marissa. And caring makes people vulnerable, makes them hesitate, makes them protect the wrong things first." Her heart contracted painfully. She realized then that fear doesn't only come from villains, sometimes it comes from good men carrying too much truth alone. Before she could respond, a nurse rushed in, breathless. "Miss Cole, your test results just came back." Declan turned sharply. "Is she okay?" The nurse hesitated. "Your stress levels caused a complication, and the baby is showing signs of distress." Marissa gasped. "We need to get you to ultrasound." Now, the hallway to the ultrasound room felt impossibly long. Bright white lights, the sharp smell of antiseptic, the echo of hurried footsteps, all of it blurred around Marissa as nurses wheeled her through. Her hands trembled on the edges of the stretcher, her breath coming fast and shallow. "The baby? Please, just tell me my baby is okay," she whispered. "We'll know more in a moment, Miss Cole," the nurse reassured gently. Declan followed close behind, every muscle in his body rigid. He looked like a man who could face down federal charges without blinking, but not this, not her pain. When they reached the dim ultrasound room, the technician quickly applied warm gel to her stomach. The screen flickered to life, shadows dancing across it like an uncertain future. Marissa stared desperately at the monitor. "Please," she whispered again, barely audible. The room fell into tense silence. Then the faintest flutter, a heartbeat, steady, strong. The tension in the room released all at once. The technician smiled softly. "Your baby is holding on, but the stress level you experienced is dangerous. You need rest, calm, and zero emotional shocks." Tears fell down Marissa's temples, not of fear this time, but overwhelming relief. Declan exhaled shakily and pressed a hand to his forehead. "Thank God." But the technician wasn't done. "You'll need to decide on a long-term safety plan, Miss Cole. With everything happening legally, your pregnancy is considered high risk. You'll need someone stable supporting you." Marissa's heartbeat stuttered. She looked toward Declan. Support, stability. Two words she'd forgotten how to associate with anyone. Declan stepped closer, voice low, almost hesitant. "You don't have to decide anything now, but whatever you choose, I'm not leaving." She swallowed hard, emotions crashing through her in chaotic waves. "Declan, everything is so heavy right now. Gavin, Sabrina, the investigation, and you, what you revealed." "I know," he said softly, "but you're not facing any of it alone." She turned her face away, overwhelmed. She had spent so long being someone's burden that she didn't know how to accept being someone's priority. Healing wasn't just about escaping pain, it was learning to trust safety when it finally appeared. A soft knock broke the moment. A federal agent stepped inside, expression serious. "Miss Cole, I'm sorry, but this can't wait. Gavin Cole has requested an emergency deposition, and he insists you hear his statement before tomorrow." Marissa stiffened. Why would I ever want to hear anything he has left to say? The agent hesitated, because he claims the person truly responsible for everything isn't him. Declan's jaw clenched. Marissa's blood ran cold. He says the real target has always been you. The federal conference room smelled like stale paper and tension. Marissa sat stiffly in her chair, Declan beside her, two agents across the table. The hum of fluorescent lights above felt almost accusatory. She shouldn't have been here, not in her condition, but Gavin had insisted on delivering his statement with her present. For her safety, he claimed. Safety? From him? The irony made her stomach twist. The agents connected a video feed. Gavin appeared on the screen from a holding room, pale, unshaven, and stripped of the polished arrogance he once wore like armor. For the first time, he looked small. "Marissa," he croaked, "thank you for coming." She didn't answer. He glanced nervously at Declan. "I know you hate me, both of you. But you need to understand, this wasn't supposed to happen." "What wasn't supposed to happen?" Declan asked, voice cold. Gavin swallowed. "The investigation, the raid, the arrests, none of it. Sabrina and we were manipulated." Marissa leaned forward, pulse quickening. "By who?" Gavin hesitated, then whispered a name she never expected. "Your father." The room fell into stunned silence. "My father?" she repeated slowly. "My father is dead." Gavin shook his head. "Your legal father is dead, but biologically, Marissa, there's someone else, someone powerful, someone who has been watching you your entire life." Her breath caught in her throat. "He didn't want you with me," Gavin continued, voice trembling. "He didn't want you with anyone who couldn't control you. So he sabotaged my investments, planted evidence, manipulated transfers." "That's a lie," Declan snapped. "You forged her name." "I did," Gavin admitted, shame dragging his gaze downward. "I thought I was protecting us, but someone else set the trap. I was stupid enough to walk into it." "Who?" Marissa whispered, heart pounding. Gavin lifted his eyes to hers, fear shining in them. Arthur Vance. Marissa froze. Arthur Vance, the billionaire patriarch who owned half the East Coast's financial infrastructure. A man she'd met only once as a child. A man rumored to be ruthless enough to destroy entire companies to protect his interests. "My mother," she whispered. "She worked for him." Gavin nodded. "You're his daughter, and he's been waiting for a reason to pull you into his world." Declan stiffened beside her. "Why expose this now?" "Because I thought I could outrun him," Gavin said. "But he sent a message today. To me, to you, to her." "Her?" Marissa repeated. Gavin's voice cracked. "Your unborn child. He wants the baby." The oxygen left the room, and then the conference door burst open, an agent panting. "Miss Cole, Arthur Vance just landed in Boston, and he's on his way here." The conference room erupted into chaos the second the agent announced Arthur Vance's arrival. Phones rang. Agents barked orders. Doors opened and slammed. The federal building shifted into lockdown protocol, yet none of it softened the cold fear curling inside Marissa's chest. Arthur Vance. A name spoken in boardrooms like a warning. A man powerful enough to erase people like pencil markings. And he wanted her child. Declan stepped in front of her instinctively. He's not getting near her. Or the baby. His protectiveness steadied her, but only for a moment. "Why would he want my child?" she whispered. "Power," Declan answered. "Legacy. Control. Men like him don't see children, they see successors or leverage." Agents rushed them down a secured hallway toward a private evacuation exit. The echoing footsteps felt like thunder in Marissa's ears. "But he can't force anything," she said, voice trembling. "Legally, he has no. That's the problem," Declan cut in. "People like Arthur Vance don't operate with laws. They operate with threats." They reached a restricted elevator. An agent swiped his badge. "We're getting you to protective custody immediately." Marissa hesitated. "But Declan, he's being accused. If I leave now..." "You staying doesn't protect him," Declan said gently. "You surviving does." The elevator doors slid open. She stepped inside, gripping the rail as a contraction of fear tightened her stomach. Survival. She had survived betrayal, public humiliation, forged documents, federal investigations. She had survived the collapse of the life she thought she wanted. But now she understood something deeper. Strength isn't proven by enduring pain. It's proven by choosing what deserves your strength. And her child deserved everything. The elevator descended. When the doors opened, a black SUV waited beside a loading bay. Agents signaled her inside. But before she entered, a familiar hand caught the door. Declan. He held her gaze, steady and unshakable. "Marissa, listen to me. Arthur Vance isn't coming here for custody. He's coming for control. If he gets to you first, he'll twist everything, your statement, your safety, your future." Her throat tightened. "So what do I do?" "You trust me," he said. "Just this one time, I will protect you, even if I have to give up everything I built." Her eyes burned. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. But trust had cost her so much. Still, he had never lied to her. An agent shouted, "We have to move." Marissa made her choice. She reached for Declan's hand. But just as she stepped into the SUV, the loading bay door began to rise. Boots. Shadows. A man's silhouette. Arthur Vance had arrived. And he was smiling? Arthur Vance stepped fully into the loading bay, his presence sucking the warmth from the air. He carried the kind of power that made grown men bow their heads. But today, he faced a woman who had nothing left to fear. "Marissa," he said smoothly, as though greeting a daughter he'd always loved, "You've been kept from me. That ends now." Declan moved in front of her before she could speak. "She's not going anywhere with you." Arthur gave a dismissive smile. "You're bold, Ward. Boldness is admirable until it becomes inconvenient." Agents flanked him. But they weren't his. They were federal. The lead agent stepped forward. "Arthur Vance, you're under arrest for conspiracy to defraud, witness intimidation, laundering, and orchestrating the Cole financial breaches." Arthur's face finally cracked. "What?" The agent continued. "Your daughter, Miss Cole, provided the testimony we needed, and the subpoena she received was part of a coordinated protection strategy. You see, we knew you'd come for her." Arthur stared at Marissa as if seeing her for the first time. "You betrayed me," he whispered. "No," Marissa said, voice trembling but firm. "I stopped letting powerful men decide my life. Arthur lunged, but agents pinned him against the SUV. Cuffs snapped around his wrists. His empire built on fear, manipulation, and silence fell apart in less than a minute. As they dragged him away, he spat, "You think you've won?" Marissa placed a hand on her stomach, steady and sure. "I know I have." The bay fell silent except for fading footsteps. Declan turned to her slowly, searching her expression. "Are you all right?" She nodded a real, steady nod. For the first time in years, yes. In the days that followed, justice moved swiftly. Gavin accepted a plea deal. Sabrina faced full charges for obstruction and forgery. And Marissa finally was cleared of all ties to their crimes. Her medical evaluations stabilized. The baby remained healthy, strong. She chose a lakeside maternity center for the rest of her pregnancy. Quiet, private, safe. Declan visited often, not hovering, not pushing, simply showing up with warm meals, books, and a silence that felt like peace rather than pressure. 6 months later, Marissa held her newborn daughter in her arms. Soft, pink, perfect. Declan stood in the doorway, hesitant. "She's beautiful," he whispered. Marissa looked up at him, tears shining, not from pain, from possibility. "Stay," she said simply. His breath caught. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "You stood by me when everything fell apart. I want you with me while everything comes back together." He stepped closer. She placed the baby in his arms. He held her as though holding the world. Because he finally was. Marissa exhaled, choosing her future freely, fully, and without fear. And for the first time, love didn't hurt, it healed. Well, that brings our story to a close. And if you, my wonderful friend, are still here with me at this moment, then something in Marissa's journey must have touched your heart in its own quiet way. You see, her story isn't just about betrayal or revenge. It's about rediscovering your worth after forgetting it for too long. It's about learning, like the Stoics often remind us, that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Marcus Aurelius wrote that centuries ago, yet it fits Marissa perfectly. She couldn't control Gavin or Sabrina or even the storms life threw at her, but she learned to control her response. And that changed everything. Her healing reminds us that walking away isn't weakness, choosing peace isn't selfish, and standing back up, especially when the world expects you to break, is one of the bravest things a person can do. If this story made you feel something, hope, strength, maybe even a little clarity about your own life, then don't let that feeling slip away. Share this video with someone who might need it. Hit the like button so more people can find stories that heal. And subscribe if you want to keep walking with us through these emotional journeys. Because you're not alone. And sometimes, all it takes is one story to help us breathe a little easier.